Hey everyone, welcome to Health Psych with Miss M. Today we're going to talk about sleep. And sleep is such a fascinating biological phenomenon because we're not knocked out cold for 7 to 9 hours, but instead we're going through these different stages and cycles that have various implications for our health. This graph shows the typical sleep of the average adult, let's say about 7 hours, which is represented on the x-axis. The y-axis shows the different stages that we'll get into next. So the N before 1, 2, and 3 refers to non-REM, whereas REM refers to the rapid eye movement sleep, which is a very fascinating stage of sleep. The stage 1 or N1 is the lightest stage of sleep. This is when we're just starting to fall asleep. Stage 2 is a little bit deeper. We are experiencing muscle relaxation, our heart rate and breathing slow, and it's a little bit harder to be awakened unless you're a light sleeper, either due to biology or genetics. Maybe you're stressed, kind of hypervigilant about your environment, which we will get into in the next video on sleep tips. Then there's stage 3, which is the deeper stage. It's the most restorative physically. It's a physical restoration for our muscles, like after working out, even our cells, all down to the nitty-gritty. It's much harder to be awakened from stage 3 sleep. Stage 4 isn't shown on this graph, but it's even deeper, and it's the gateway to REM sleep, or the rapid eye movement sleep. REM sleep is where the most dreaming occurs, and hence it's pretty restorative mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. We do dream in other stages, but REM sleep is where we have the rapid eye movement, and normally the paralyzing of our limbs so that we don't act out our dreams. Our brain activity actually increases, so it might look like we're in a state of stress because of these mental movies that are going on. As you can see in those shaded portions of the graph, we have more REM sleep as the night goes on, and it's so close to wakefulness. That's why it's pretty easy to wake up right after a dream and actually remember it. Even if you don't remember your dreams, that doesn't mean that you didn't dream overnight. Maybe you just fell right back asleep, or you didn't have enough cycles. Like the average is about 4 to 6 of these cycles that we see here for about 7 to 9 hours of sleep. If you ever feel a little bit less refreshed when you wake up, it could be because you missed just that little bit more of REM sleep, or maybe you had a rude awakening like your alarm going off right in the middle of that shaded portion. But what you might expect is some REM rebound the next night, which is where you actually have a little bit more REM sleep to nearly make up for the loss from the previous night. There's a lot of talk about the importance of dreaming and why we dream. I see it as a time that our brains are making sense of the world and essentially taking out the trash. That's why poor sleep is implicated in dementia in older age. Personally, I found that vivid or memorable dreams typically relate to something that I'm thinking about throughout the day, like a problem I'm solving or like the headline of the day. It might even be something that my subconscious picked up from like a TV commercial, such that there's a really weird sequence going on in my mind. And then there's that lucid dreaming where you feel like you're actually a part of the dream or controlling it. Maybe you have some recurring dreams, especially some scary ones too. If you've just recently graduated, have you had that recurring dream that you're actually going to go back to school in the fall? So as I previously mentioned, adults typically need about 7 to 9 hours of sleep. In older adults that can change, and even the cycles change where there's a little more light sleep, a little more awakenings. So the reason that there's an average is because it obviously varies with us internally and also with what's going on. So maybe you use like a wearable device or sleep tracker that shows you got like 8 hours of sleep, but it's possible to still not feel refreshed, which is okay because it's part of the human experience. Maybe we just didn't get enough sleep, or we're just laying there awake, or we awoke mid-cycle, which is not very pleasant. A lot of adults develop a sort of natural alarm that's maybe aligned with when we wake up for work, even if we fall asleep later. This is unlike childhood or adolescence, where we could be doing homework or hanging out till late and then enjoy a sweet 9 to 10 hours of slumber afterwards and then just sleep in. So that lousiness that we might feel after going to bed late and still being awake around 7 a.m., for example, is referred to as social jet lag. Social jet lag doesn't refer to traveling with your friends, but instead, let's say you go to bed around 10 p.m. on the weekdays, and then you go to bed at midnight on the weekends. For our brains, that's like traveling 2 time zones over. And imagine only doing that on the weekends and having to recalibrate for the work week on Monday. So we'll get more into sleep tips and ways to counteract this while still living life in the next video. And I'd love to hear any thoughts you have about the stages and the information presented here.